The Minnesota Vikings keep arriving at the same result, telling a very different story every week. A new creative way of how to get there, and that is a dramatic, close 27-24 victory to move to 12-3. I'm Sam Ekstrom in the U.S. Bank Stadium press box. Rolling solo today. A happy Merry Christmas and Christmas Eve to everybody out there. Let's just talk about this game where Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hockenson go over 100 yards. Greg Joseph sets the franchise record 61-yard field goal to win it. Kirk Cousins, again, plastered all over the turf. Played dangerously today, but did not turn the ball over, and he comes up with another fourth quarter comeback. Game-winning drive. Vikings have rattled off now 2 in a row after their latest loss. They keep winning one-score games, 11-0. Absurd. A lot to get to today. Really good locker room today as well. I'll relay some quotes that I heard there. And we've got some Twitter questions coming in as well as we talk about the Vikings beating the Giants 27-24. Thanks to all of you watching live here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and you'll get all of our content throughout the week. We've got a bunch of press conferences that will be dropping that I posted from the locker room, including Patrick Peterson, Greg Joseph, Justin Jefferson, KOC. It's all there. Locked On Sports Minnesota. Let's start at the end and work our way back to the beginning. The Vikings, again, forced to engineer a 2-minute drive, second consecutive week with a walk-off field goal, and they used the same play. If you remember last week in overtime, the Vikings needed 10-15 yards to give Greg Joseph a good look in overtime. Screen to Justin Jefferson. He executes it, moves the chains, puts the Vikings in position. They beat the Colts. This week, 3rd and 10, and you can't get stopped here. Because if you get stopped, then you're going to overtime. And who knows who wins that coin flip. It's a gutsy audible. Kirk Cousins audibles into a wide receiver screen on 3rd and 13. Jefferson not only picks up the necessary yardage for a first down, he broke that thing for a touchdown. That puts him in position just enough for Greg Joseph to make a 61-yarder. And we had a great vantage point in the press box. Tons of leg. I know people on TV didn't get a great angle of that kick. Tons of leg. Probably good from 65 and beyond. And honestly, the second he hit it, I knew it was long enough. I knew there wasn't going to be a Julian Love return from the back of the end zone. Just a matter of whether it was going to be down the middle or not. And it was. It curled really right over the center of the crossbar. Perfect Greg Joseph kick, who is starting to build back some trust in this fan base after a really rocky middle part of the season. Think about, though, what Justin Jefferson did towards the end of this game. A 3rd and 10 touchdown. Put them up by 8. And Kevin O'Connell said it was one of the best routes he's seen Jefferson run. And again, I posted the video of Justin Jefferson explaining that route on YouTube. He takes us through it really well. But he's got inside ledge against the corner, safety over the top. He had to sort of bluff the outside cut to go toward the pylon. Makes a move inside, makes the play, and screens across the goal line for the touchdown. 3rd and 10, touchdown. Final drive, 3rd and long. Cousins gets hit, throws it to a spot, moves the chains. And if they don't get that one, the Giants could have a chance to win with a field goal. Massive connection. And credit Cousins for hanging in there to throw it. And then the screen play to Jefferson. So 3 3rd and longs where I guess the game not necessarily on the line, but a huge high leverage moment in the football game. Everyone knows Justin Jefferson's going to be the primary target. He makes all 3 plays and puts the Vikings in position. Incredible performance. He stays right on that pace we talked about. With 4 games to go, he needed 125 a game. He did that in the last 2. He had 123 and 133 today, which means he needs to average 122 in the final 2 games to get 2,000 yards, and in doing so would break the NFL record. We could be looking at a very interesting Week 18 scenario. If the Vikings have wrapped up the 2 seed, the 1 seed is out of reach, do you play Justin Jefferson against the Chicago Bears? Let's say he needs 125 yards. Would you give him that chance and risk the worst case scenario of Justin Jefferson getting hurt. That's a talker probably for another day. T.J. Hockenson was today's wide receiver too. Last week it was K.J. Osborne. Today it was T.J. Hockenson. Adam Thielen getting left behind. And that's something else to watch too, is that Thielen, physically, we know he hasn't been 100% for a long time now, it feels like. But he's not showing up in the box score at all. Almost as if Kirk Cousins knows that a target Thielen's way is just a little more dangerous because there's not the separation. If he does make the catch, there's not going to be as much yak after the play. There are so many tough yards being amassed right now by Justin Jefferson, by K.J. Osborne, by T.J. Hockenson. Tough to bring down. Career high 13 grabs for Hockenson. Only his third. I was surprised by that. Only his third 100-yard game. He had another one earlier this year with the Lions. But he goes for 109. 2 touchdown catches, one of them absurd. A lot of people tweeting that he mossed the guy. Yeah, he did. He goes up over the top of him, hauls it in, toe taps the sideline, holds onto the ball. Just a ridiculous grab. Again, on a third down. The Vikings were not perfect in execution today on offense. They executed on third down, man. I mean, Kirk Cousins, again, faced a blitz-happy team, hung in, took some unbelievable hits, and fired some really nice balls. Mixed in were some super dangerous passes. I mean, there was one to Thielen where it got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and if it doesn't get tipped, I'm not sure if the broadcast emphasized this, it's intercepted and maybe a pick six. There was a screen play that was like right at Dexter Lawrence's feet. There were a couple other ones that freaked you out. There was one to Osborne near the goal line. They got tapped up in the air a couple times. It's not a perfect Kirk Cousins game. This is not a rip Kirk Cousins session. He was super clutch. Again, story of his season. He comes through when he needs to. As Kevin O'Connell says, they play their best when it's required. It is just scary sometimes, the things that they get away with during the course of the game. To the Vikings' credit, they forced the turnovers. Giants weren't opportunistic. Vikings were. Brian Asamoah was coming into his own. He had a big strip and fumble recovery. Apparently, he forgot to do the end zone celebration with the World Cup simulation and the penalty kick. That was supposed to be Asamoah's turnover celebration. Patrick Peterson was giving him a hard time. He said, hey, he forgot, so I got to do it later. Patrick Peterson called this shot. He said, I knew I was going to get a pick because Daniel Jones was throwing it my way a lot. He was testing me. He was getting comfortable with my side of the field. And, nudge, nudge. Well, he was actually converting a few of those plays to Hodgins. But nonetheless, Patrick Peterson, with the interception, undercuts the route. And the Vikings blocked the punt as well. They took the ball away. The Giants dropped the ball on numerous occasions with a group of skill players we talked about all week on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Really punchless. And beyond Saquon Barkley, who got some hard yards today and a key touchdown at the end, Daniel Jones is their number 3 yards from scrimmage guy, just scrambling. Wan'Dale Robinson is in that mix. He didn't do anything today. Darius Slayton is in that mix. He didn't do a lot in this game. So the Giants could stand to surround Daniel Jones with a little more talent. Vikings' depth of talent continues to show through when they can get big games from guys like K.J. Osborne and their tight end T.J. Hockenson. That's enormous. And I think that gap in talent was clear. Maybe the difference why the Vikings won this game. Plenty more to get to, but I want to remind folks that this postcast is brought to you by BetOnline, betonline.net for odds, news, and scores. The Vikings were favored. Really, it depends where you got in on this because I saw 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. I think it settled around 4. Vikings did not cover for a second week in a row. They come half a point or a point shy of covering. So if you bet the Giants, you got the win. If you bet the over, you got the win. And it came down to the final kick to put it over the total of 48, 49, wherever you got in. Get all the lines for all the games, bowl season, NFL at betonline.net. It's BetOnline. It's where the game starts. Want to get into some Twitter questions that I asked for as we continue to digest this. Vikings 27, Giants 24 on the postcast. Kyle says, another great win. It would be nice to win by more than one score so our hearts don't explode. And that plays in with another comment I got. Will this team ever win by 2 scores again? From Kai. I don't know. I mean, this is the way that this season's going to go. I mean, we are past the point of this team changing its identity. It's too late. It's too late. I mean, I said this week that shy of winning the final 3 games by 30 each, it's going to be hard to rewrite the narrative going into the playoffs. I mean, I think this is kind of who the Vikings are. They've got 2 road games in cold weather environments. Update on the Packers forecast for next Sunday. It's not terrible. It's like a high of 39, low 32, wintry mix. I think it was that way last year as well with the Sean Mannion game. Can't remember, but it's not going to be terrible. It's not going to be negative. But with a wintry mix, it might be hard to pass the ball. Point is, in those kind of slot fest cold games, it's going to be tough to rack up any kind of meaningful victory. You just kind of hang on for dear life in those kind of situations. I mean, I would expect more close games down the stretch in this regular season. Yes, even against the Bears, who play everybody close, it seems. The Bills pulled away from them today, but that's a tough opponent and a tough place to play. It just is. And if the Packers think they have any hope of, snagging a playoff spot, and they could. Seattle's coming back to the pack. Detroit's coming back to the pack. Washington game pending right now, but if they lose, Green Bay could be going into Week 17 absolutely thinking they have a chance. So that means Rodgers playing motivated. Rodgers trying to run the table. That's not really a quarterback you want to face as much as he has struggled. So no, I don't think the Vikings can win by more than 1 possession ever again. They might go 13-0 this season in 1-score games, which would just be an absurd mark. And we won't talk about the sustainability of that. But question from Wolves Nation: does this game change how we should view the Giants as a potential wild card opponent? So I went in this week on record as saying the Vikings should hope to play this team again. And by winning today, they actually enhance that possibility because they knock the Giants down a peg. They bolster their opportunity to be a 2 seed, and it could happen. They could come back in here. And right now it's looking like either the Commanders or the Giants are going to be the 7 seed. You needed a last-second field goal to beat both of them. Commanders you faced on the road, Giants you faced at home. They're different teams. And the Giants have a bad defense, and they have an offense that really can do one thing, and that's run the ball, do a little play action, get the quarterback moving. But there's not a lot about the Giants that you point to on paper and say, terrified. No, I think they're well coached, and they've shown too that they can play well at the end of games. So I think that that's their best quality, is that they're not stupid. Washington has a very erratic quarterback, but they've actually got some talent on that side of the ball, and they've got a good defense. Number 4 this week, going into this week in yards allowed. That being said, bad quarterback coming into this building. I think you like Jones more as a quarterback than Heineke. Heineke's got a little more experience in the postseason. The point I'm trying to make is the Vikings are really favored to win over both of those clubs. Probably 4 or 5 points. And they should win. That's the game where the Vikings definitely will be favored, no doubt. People will pick them on the panelist shows. People will pick the Vikings across the board because they're going to be taking on some really flawed opponents. Round 2 is where it gets hairy and where the Vikings might not even be a home favorite. But I think the Giants are super vulnerable. Look at their record of late. After the 6-1 start, they're 2-5-1. The Giants aren't in a good place, and I think aside from the last-minute drive that Jones executed, well done, props to him. They don't have an offense that's very explosive. Daniel Jones has 5 big-time throws this year per PFF. That's last among qualified quarterbacks. His yards per attempt is super low. It's a dink and dunk offense, and that's why the Vikings were, they were giving up yards in the middle of the field, but they were not allowing them to get in the end zone because that's just an offense that doesn't have a lot of capability to do that. So I think that I would prefer, to be honest, the Giants again versus Washington. I think he's just a little bit plucky, but we'll see how that shakes out. How is my heart doing? Cheese asks. I'm pretty well conditioned in these games. I've been through a lot in this stadium, so I'm doing all right. It's more my heart probably pumps more in the locker room trying to get into a crowd of people surrounding Justin Jefferson and get a decent video, that makes me more nervous. No, I'm calm, cool, and collected in these situations. Thanks for the question, though. Final thoughts, Vikings and Giants here. The Vikings, as we speak, are 2 back of the Eagles, who are winning against Dallas. So, folks, I don't think that 1 seed is going to be on the table. I mean, if the Eagles can do this with their backup quarterback in Dallas, if they win, they clinch that 1 seed. I think you got to dispel those hopes, focus on the 2 seed. And I don't have an updated score on that, but I did see that the 49ers were ahead. 49ers are going to keep the pedal down. I mean, they're going to make the Vikings work for this thing. The Vikings could go 13-4 this year and not be a 2 seed and have to go on the road in round 2. And I think they need to be super motivated to get that. So they win today, and they hold on to that 2 seed for at least a week longer. We talked about some of the offensive players. Defense today, I thought was fine. I don't think they were great. I don't think they were bad necessarily. I like some of these exotic pressure looks that they're bringing. The corner blitz today we saw from Patrick Peterson, just his hits of the year. And we saw some extra rushers that kind of got Jones off his spot. And, yeah, he beat them a couple times in a blitz, but I think that's okay. I think you need to at least provide that threat. And today they at least flustered the passer a little bit, where you actually had some confidence in that defense. They were going to come up big and unsettle Daniel Jones. A step maybe in the right direction. And then special teams, great bounce back. Great bounce back after a couple shoddy weeks, I would say. Obviously, Joseph, perfect. Block punt. They're waiting for that all year. They've been close many occasions. But there's plenty in all 3 phases to be pleased about today. And like they said after the game, still searching for that 4-quarter performance. I don't know if it's coming. I don't know if it's coming. I think this is just going to be the way the games go. You're going to have to play the better 4th quarter, and that might just have to be enough for this Vikings team. The 12-3. No Luke Braun today. He'll be back next week in the postcast. Check out all of our Locked On Sports Minnesota content. That's the Ron Johnson Show. Superior Sports Talk and the Minnesota Football Party. No programming Monday. That's a company holiday, but then the day after that, Tuesday, full slate on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Check me out at Sam Ekstrom on Twitter, and have a very Merry Christmas Eve and Christmas. We'll talk